It's not TV, it's HBO.
It's not TV, it's HBO.
Hope, positivity, and optimism.
Hope, positivity, and optimism.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Mwah.
Hi, this is Penn Gillette, Penn and Teller. Big guy does magic, smaller guy next to me, he does magic too. He doesn't talk that much. I want to talk about Joseph Jaffe is not famous. And Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Joseph Jaffe is wicked not famous. Joseph Jaffe is superlatively not famous, and for good and sufficient reason. I mean, maybe his guests are famous. Maybe his guests are famous. He gets some famous people on his guests, but Joseph Jaffe himself is not famous. That's the important part. You can have famous guests and still not be famous. And if you want an example of that, well, Joseph Jaffe would be a really good example. Teller would do a better job at a talk show, and Teller doesn't talk, which you'd think would be one of the major qualifications of being on a talk show and not being famous. What's that, Teller? Oh, yeah, Teller says, Joseph Jaffe, not famous. Love you. Peace.
Woody-hoo!
Woody-hoo! Out here in the stream, as in the streaming era, I fight for my dreams. I get my heart into my living.
You encourage drinking or marijuana use on the show?
I don't need a fight, cause Evelyn's right. Or you could sponsor an emu. I'm Batman.
That's your tweetable moment, folks. That's your tweetable moment. If Mark Zuckerberg makes a metaverse, is that Web3? No, it's Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse.
He's like us. He's flawed.
Just a little segue.
That's some dope shit, dude. That's really, really nice.
Woody-hoo!
Woody-hoo! Well, let me tell you something. Some days things just work out and sometimes they don't. Today is a day that you can only say things are working out because Paul Epstein is back on the show. I don't even remember now suddenly, did we go into the Epstein versus Epstein? I think that last name carries some weight. There is only one, as far as I'm concerned, it's Paul Epstein. I think we discussed this last time, but you know, it's deja vu all over again. Coming into the show today, I wasn't sure if I had a domain name anymore. And you know what? Maybe at the end of today's show, I'll have a domain name again. Suddenly I feel naked and afraid. Help, I'm a celebrity and I'm naked and afraid. I think maybe I took two different shows and put them together. But what the hell? Today we are talking about decisions. We're talking about confidence. We're talking about having the confidence in your ability to make a decision. And I got a feeling somehow Napoleon Hill is going to rear his head somewhere. And so we'll talk about that shortly. But look, please, I beg of you, do me a favor. Just head on over to bit.ly/subscribe to the show and subscribe to the show and bit.ly me. Subscribe to the show. It is a way to make sure that the next time Paul comes on the show, you're going to be informed before anybody else. You might even be backstage. You might even have an opportunity for a little walk-on roll, which would be pretty cool. Now, in the mornings, we've been doing a little bit of virtual coffee in the Collective Cafe. So, they told me I had a face for radio, and this is a way that I actually deliver that through audio only, audio first, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in our Discord server. And we have a lot of fun. For example, recently we spoke about what's called the Frankenstein effect. This idea that, when you're listening to so many consultants and authors and coaching programs and operating systems, sometimes you end up cobbling together what is essentially a bit of a monster, a beautiful little monster, but sometimes not so much, the Frankenstein effect. And sometimes what you need to do is to figure out exactly which bet, or how to place your bets, or which person to place your bets on. I can tell you, if you place your bet on Paul Epstein, that is a very, very good bet. Another thing we discussed recently is this whole idea of healthy versus unhealthy debates. Look, we are operating at a time in unprecedented times at the moment, and debating is good, talking is good, conversation is good. What we have to do is always make sure that it is healthy and respectful. Now, what is healthy? For me, my definition is healthy is when two sides are prepared to recognize that neither of them are necessarily 100% correct, that there can be some meeting of the mind, some meeting in the middle, or just the humility to actually recognize that another perspective might in fact be the correct one. And so we discussed that one morning. And if you can't make it live, please just go ahead and here's another bit.ly. I'm just the king of bit.lys, bit.ly/collective cafe to go, where you can take your coffee with you on the road, on your commute, on the treadmill, or whatever floats your boat. But now, speaking of boats, I don't know, there's absolutely no segue whatsoever with regards to boats. I want to talk to you about not confidence, but providence. The subject of confidence is such a fascinating one. And that's why I'm so happy that Paul is back. And I think he's already, I can see him going, I see what you just did there, young Padawan Jaffe. Confidence, providence, pros and cons, or sometimes the idea of being a con or feeling like a con, or having head trash and imposter syndrome, having the lack of confidence, having your head bully your heart, having your gut and your intuition almost be squashed or suffocated or bullied out by the head, by the logic that actually second guesses you or forces you to second guess yourself. Confidence is a game not left to the amateurs. Sometimes you do need to call in a professional, but certainly for me, as someone who you might appear to be ultra confident, I struggle, I battle, I second guess, I doubt, I don't ever feel like I'm conning someone else, but I do feel sometimes that I'm conning myself. Maybe, just maybe, we need to replace the concept of confidence with providence. Pro, positive, proactive, proscriptive, or prescriptive, whatever. You know what I mean. I can't wait to hear what Paul has to say about my new word, providence. Is it gonna catch on? Probably not, but that's okay. So let me tell you a little bit about Paul Epstein making his triumphant return to the show. He's a former high-level executive for multiple NFL and NBA teams, and a two-time best-selling author of The Power of Playing Offense, The Power of Playing Offense, and Better Decisions Faster. As an award-winning speaker, he was named one of Success Magazine's top thought leaders that gets results alongside names like, maybe you've heard of one or two of these people, Tony Robbins, Brené Brown, Gary Vaynerchuk, and Mel Robbins. To drive impact off stage, he provides leadership development and culture transformation programs for companies and teams including Amazon, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, NASA, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Dallas Cowboys. And that is before 12 a.m. when he goes and takes and gets another cup of coffee. Now, please watch this.
Every company believes they have a performance problem, a culture problem, an engagement problem, a retention problem. But what they really have is a confidence problem. Today is about closing our gaps, one decision and one action at a time. 15 years in the NFL and NBA taught me a lot about adversity. From league-wide labor lockouts, to selling what was once known as the worst franchise in sports history, to career-saving conversations with the NFL commissioner, to facing 70,000 fans in the aftermath of Colin Kaepernick kneeling. Adversity became a place of comfort. It's where I learned to walk through fire. It's where I learned to play offense in defensive environments. And these insights of leading high-performance teams have led me to advise some of the world's top leaders and brands. Whether on the playing field or in the boardroom, I've discovered what separates the elite from the rest of the pack.
I had like a total coughing fit and attack in the background. And I was like, I might have been dead by the time you actually came on the show. Paul Epstein, it's nothing but manic in my life. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Providence, we have to chat about that. And by the way, I was listening profusely to your entire intro. Did you just say have a cup of coffee while you're on the treadmill? Did I catch that?
No, but maybe, but why not?
Okay, just go slow, everybody. We don't need the McDonald's thing.
No, we don't.
All right. Well, I'm fired up to be back, my friend.
No, I don't think I said that, but I think maybe what if it's iced coffee?
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, look, cold water, iced coffee, you do you. So we're good.
I feel like I might need a cold shower, the way that this day has been progressing. But, I mean, there's so much to discuss today. And I think the way that you've linked confidence and decision-making, and we'll get to that. But what do you think about providence? Do you think, I mean, look, I'll be the first to tell you that word is not going to catch on. But this idea of con versus pro and the imposter syndrome aspect that almost denies us or plays games with us that prevents us from becoming, our better selves and our best selves and being confident in our ability to achieve that.
Well, I'll tell you, I love the spirit of the word providence. I'm not sure, to your point, I don't know if this is going to go crazy like wildfire and spread, but I love your context setting of providence. I do believe in this con versus pro thing. I also believe, obviously today we'll talk about head, heart, and hands, and how I think all three have a role and an influence in our decisions. But the other part too is, when you talk about confidence, I think one of the big misnomers, and maybe this will help you with the 2.0 version of whatever providence becomes. I think a lot of us think that we're either confident or we're not. So we kind of think of it as a light switch. It's either on or it's off. I'm either confident or I'm not. But what I've realized is it's not a light switch. It's like a dimmer switch. So it can go up, +1, +2, +3, +4. And obviously the opposite can also happen. And so I think it's a really cool thing for us to embrace, because it's not about meeting Mary or Joe or whoever and saying they're either a confident person or they're not. It's about, hey, today they're at a 58. Tomorrow they could be at a 78. Also, they could have a certain score in their confidence at work, but then the opposite at home or vice versa. So like, that's this beauty of confidence is it can sound a little bit complex, but I think it's very empowering that we could be one decision away from becoming a more confident version of ourselves.
Well, that is a powerful idea, and we're gonna use the hashtag confidence continuum.
Yes, let's go.
I mean, I love that coming from you. This idea of not the light switch, but the dimmer. That's gold, Jerry. That's gold. And it's relative. It's a work in progress. It's a journey, not a destination. That makes me so less anxious off the bat, because I think people are in this zero sum, this binary, this
totally.
do or die, and it's unattainable. it's unrealistic. And so I'm going to just tell people, anyone that I ever talk to for the rest of my life, that this is seriously, this is a continuum. It's a work in progress. And if you can be just a little bit more confident tomorrow than you were yesterday, you're on the track. You're on the treadmill without the hot cup of coffee. Damn it.
There you go. That's a better decision faster.
So I want to get into decision making, but as you know, things have changed on the show, and and as much as people really want to hear about your obsession with bacon, which is one of your truths, I've decided, because you've been on the show and you did discuss bacon before, we're not going to, but we are going to play Two Truths and a Lie. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
And that is the wrong, I told you this is the right one, but that worked. Damn it.
There we go.
I'm telling you, because, what I decided to do is move the, my little sound box, my mixer board, to have a bit of laughter for you poking fun at me with respect to providence, etc. But this is the intro to Two Truths and a Lie. Paul Epstein. By the way, did we discuss if you were Epstein or Epstein last time?
I think we did, but I'll follow your lead right now. I think we did, buddy.
Who is the bad one?
Oh, well, look, I got to go teen, man. I got to go teen. Epstein, that's the name. And I know there's a brand attached to it, but like you said, just bet on Paul Epstein, and that's a better decision faster. So we got to land the plane there.
I would bet on you any day. So the first truth or lie, we're not sure who is who, is the fact that apparently you got married on the field of Levi's Stadium, and the venue was your wife's idea, you swear. So tell us about why you decided to get married on the field of Levi's Stadium.
Okay, well, we just ran into the last name of Epstein, so a lot of folks can connect that on a cultural level, but I'll tell you, it's a surprise. I actually am of proud Mexican descent, so not only is my mom full Mexican, and that's really the majority of my family tree, I also married into a full Mexican family, so both my in-laws are Mexican. So I give that context for this reason. At the time we got married, LA is home and will always be home, but the sports journey got me going all parts of the country. We were living in the Bay. I was working for the San Francisco 49ers at the time. And really the goal was, let's get our family up from SoCal and or Mexico. Let's introduce them to the Bay. Let's do it in a beautiful winery and choose a vineyard and just do the whole thing. Well, as part of that venue selection process, we found that most wineries and most vineyards have a curfew because of a noise ordinance. And so the party shuts down at 10 p.m. And we said, no. Maybe we missed something here. You mean that's when it starts? And they said, no, that's when it ends. So our wine dream came crashing to a halt. And my wife then said, I'd recently gotten a promotion from head of sales and business development with the 49ers to now I was overseeing the events department. And we do private events and catered events and banquets and functions and the whole thing. And then basically she said, hey, didn't you say you recently took over events? And I was like, where are you going with this? Where are you going? And she said, well, since the winery thing didn't work out, maybe, just maybe you could pull some strings with yourself. And I don't know, maybe we could get married at the stadium. And so in typical fashion, I was outvoted 1-1. And it was a month after Super Bowl 50. We got married on the field of Levi's Stadium. And so truth, it was her idea. And I do swear.
Well, of course, you may be the greatest liar ever, and we will not know, but that was so elaborate that I was thinking it's either completely true or it's a complete lie. I am convinced either way. If you think you know which one is the lie, then just go on over to bit.ly/2T1L_ Paul Epstein and vote. And I don't know whether this is going to make it easier or not, but apparently with your proud, so you may just be extending the fib, but with your proud Mexican descent, you actually, and owing to that, you had in your wedding a taquero and mariachi band, a first in Levi's Stadium history. You're doubling down. You're doubling down. What was it like to have a mariachi and a taquero band at your wedding?
First of all, I love how you're saying taquero. I mean, if I needed to invite you, and you, that's amazing, man. I love it.
What did I say?
Yeah,
Taquero.
yeah, taquero, taquero, whatever we want to do. Mi casa, su casa. We're
Hang
good.
on a second. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it right. Taquero. Is that a better?
Taquero,
Taquero.
taquero.
All right, and Taquero Taco Bell, right? That's where it comes from.
Boom. Yeah, and I'm a little angry. An unbetter decision faster was when they took the double decker off the menu. FYI, I'm still very upset about that. And
all right,
I need to write a strongly voiced memo.
Strongly voiced memo.
Yeah. Taquero.
So
Yes, there was a taquero. Literally, it was a late night thing. And so after tequila had been flowing out of barrels and everybody was ripping up the dance floor, we had a late night surprise at about 10, 11 o'clock. The whole fiesta went on till 2, 3 in the morning, whatever it was. So after we knew there was enough tequila flowing and after the whole deal, bang, in comes a taquero right there on the corner of the field, and folks were just ordering away. And then, yeah, it's the mariachi piece was special too. Mariachi, they celebrate all the birthdays. They call out everybody. It was in the month of March. So all the March folks got kind of that whole serenaded experience. It was just amazing.
Well, I'll tell you, in the case of Two Truths and a Lie, there is definitely a common theme and a common thread because Mexico is rich, incredibly rich in archaeological digs, pyramids. I remember visiting one of the pyramids in Puebla when I went on a consulting gig a long time ago. So our third truth/lie is that apparently you are an amateur archaeologist and you've been on several excavation missions uncovering ancient artifacts and contributing to historical research. Thank you for doing that. Tell us about this little hobby.
Absolutely. Well, for one, my late father, he was an educator. He was a teacher, and he taught many things. And I mean, his degrees probably matched the number of subject matters. I think he had 4 or 5 masters. So pretty impressive as far as the classroom went. And he decided to pay it forward. And one of the things he taught was history. And so from when I was a young buck, and I remember the History Channel and really just diving in deep with him. So I got this fascination about the space. And one thing led to another. And then when it became, okay, I've got the day job, but what do I do in my recreation and spare time? Obviously, that's one of the places that, pun intended, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper.
Oh, you know what? That was awesome. And now, even at the risk of getting it wrong, I'm going to go back and give you, my friend, because you do love sport and everything, the classic rim shot. Dig a little deeper with Paul Epstein. You did such a good job that I am genuinely confused at the moment. And if you figure that you can read Paul like a book, like his new book, maybe you should read his book as well. Just go to 2T1L_Paul Epstein under the bit.lys and vote. And who knows, you might even get something special from Paul and or myself. So enough of the shenanigans and our little fun and games. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Should we talk about confidence? Should we talk about decision making? Which one comes first? Which is the chicken and which is the egg?
Great question. Without confidence, we can't make better decisions faster. I view confidence as the ante to play. And the beauty is, I believe it can be developed over time. I believe it's like a muscle. And the more consistently that we can flex the muscle, it'll grow. And so I think for all of us, and I actually have a backstory and a practice and a process that with your blessing, Mr. Jaffe, I'd love to share how I had a pretty cool transformation where I have 2 chapters of life, pre-confidence and post-confidence. And there was a very clear inflection point on how I shifted from one to the other. And the beauty is, once I graduated into this life of consistent confidence, it's never left. So happy to unpack the backstory, but I do think confidence is kind of the appetizer to the big entree of making better decisions faster.
Not only would that be okay, but I insist. I would love to hear the story, and I also love the nuance of pre-conference, pre-conference, pre-conference. So Freudian. Pre-confidence, post-confidence. Forget about the profidence, but there is nuance, there is texture, there is depth, there are layers, there are dimensions. If you are watching this, not only is this not just the light switch, but the dimmer, but understanding and unpacking and deconstructing. We'll talk about head, heart, and hands as well. Hopefully will lead you to a better place, because, you know, I want you to tell the story, but before I do, and before I forget, Paul, there are people out there, so many people out there, and they're suffering, and they just don't feel they have confidence, and they don't feel that they will ever get confidence. And they just feel on the outside looking in. And I feel like this changes a lot.
Absolutely. And let me just speak to everybody that falls into the bucket, the massive bucket that you just described. And let me say 2 words: me too. Me too, because I have been there. And what I'm about to share is the transformation, but more important, I'm going to share a process and a system that not only changed my life, but I've been coaching it to other people, from the depths of a lack of confidence to somewhat confident, to inconsistently confident, to maybe they were confident in one area of life, but not in another. It's rare that you meet somebody and they are 10 out of 10 confident at all times in all areas. It's almost impossible. So let me just start off from a place of empathy to say, regardless of where you are in your confidence continuum, this will apply. So here's the backstory. I would still be working in sports. It was a dream industry. I had no intention to ever leave until it was a handful of months. Well, I guess I can't say if I truly got married on the field of Levi Stadium, but let's just say it was the year of 2016 that I went to a life-changing retreat. It was the 49ers executive team, and we found our why, and I started to understand what my core values were. And it was the first time that I ever went through anything in the self-discovery space. Before that, I was too busy climbing and growing and succeeding and winning and resume and LinkedIn profile and check, all the stuff, title, money, responsibilities, doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. But I never called a timeout. I was just distracted by chasing the next best thing. And so this retreat really gave me this insight about who I am, what I stand for, and how I want to show up, and how could I be aligned in all of those areas. So after I exit this retreat, I started to pay it forward, coach it out in the Niners, and I started to become known as the why coach. And the beauty of that was it held me accountable to my own why and my own values. So my values are growth, impact, belief, authenticity, and courage. And what I'm going to do now is share the process of what I went through on my own. And then more importantly, on the back end, I'll share how each and every person watching and listening in can apply it in your own lives. So for me, I went through a process. I said, okay, now that I know my values, let me define each, and then let me take one big swing of the bat. So one big decision or one big action that's connected to that value to prove to myself that this is who I am. So my first value is growth. Growth, my definition was, this is the mindset that I will attack each day with. And then my proof serum, instead of true serum, my proof serum was, Paul, do something that you said you would never do. And it was a very short list of things, but on that list was, I'll never go back to school. And the reason why I said I would never go back to school was in the sports industry. You don't really need an MBA. You don't hit a ceiling without it. Other industries are very different. Sports, I didn't need it. So I said I would never go back. But all of a sudden, understanding that growth is a core value, I said, maybe I do need to tear through this muscle. Maybe I do need to challenge myself. Maybe I do need to go to a place of discomfort. Maybe I need to do something that I said I would never do. So I pull the trigger. I go back to school. University of Michigan, Ross School of Business, Executive MBA, Los Angeles cohort. Awesome. Awesome. 1 month in, I had a life-changing conversation with a wonderful woman named Sue-Ann. Sue-Ann was the executive coach that was a part of the program. And we sat down, and maybe this resonates with a lot of folks, because if you've never had a coach, which to this point I never had, I had mentors. And the difference was all of my mentors were inside of the industry that I worked, and they knew my boss better than they knew me. So when they asked me, Paul, how's it going? I said, great, great, great. Even if I was just good. So maybe you've been there too. 60% good, 70%. How's it going? Great, great, great. And that's how we're wired. That's our default. So with Sue-Ann, I didn't have any of those handcuffs. I could 100% authentically go there. And I did. So she said, Paul, I know what you do. You're the head of sales for a football team. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And what do you tolerate? So love, hate, tolerate. Great stuff for all of us to process, whether for a job or relationship. Love, hate, tolerate. I answered all three. And then Sue-Ann said, go deeper on that love bucket. I said, all right, Sue-Ann, well, I love being a coach just like you. I love the people side of the business. I love the culture side of the business. I love growing and molding and developing talent. And she said, awesome. On a good day, what percentage of your time do you do that? So this was the part where I started to slouch down in the chair, embarrassed by the answer. My ego puffed it up to 20%. The truth was probably 5 to 10%. So I said, Sue-Ann, 20%. She said, okay, if I waved a wand and you become your boss tomorrow, does that number 20% go up, down, or sideways? I said, well, my boss is almost all strategy, no people. So I guess it would go down. And this was the question that changed everything for me. She said, so what are you after? And it's such a simple question, but it had such profound meaning because I hadn't asked myself that in a very long time. I forgot about why I was even doing what I was doing. I was just climbing to climb. And so she woke me up to the realization that even if I love the industry, even if I love the company, I no longer love the job. And I'm probably going to love the job less at the next stage. So what am I after? I basically walked away knowing I don't want what's next anymore after 15 years of pouring my heart and my soul and my dedication into this industry and this ladder. And so that started to open me up. And then the second value, and this one's much quicker, impact. Impact is making a difference. My definition is, am I leaving people and places better than I found them? And so my challenge to myself was, can I create more impact inside of the walls of the sports industry or beyond? And at that point, I knew I had to leave sports, because staying in sports, I'd be leaving impact on the table. And so people always say, oh my gosh, you took this big, bold, courageous, confident leap and this Jerry Maguire leap out of sports. And I said, that's one way of looking at it. I don't think I left sports. I found myself. And that's what Sue-Ann gave me. She gave me the priceless gift of authentic confidence. Because unless we know who we are, let's call those our values, let's call those our standards, then we don't have anything to attach how we show up, how we make decisions, what actions we take or don't take. They're never tied to anything that's core to us. And so I'll pause there before I share out the process for everybody else. But Joseph, just wanted to say that that is truly the backstory of Sue-Ann. Took me from a person of inconsistent confidence to now I'm consistently confident, because once I realized who I am, and once I realized these values, and I created some standards out of it, and then I connected these things to my decisions and actions, I literally cannot lose. I don't always get the outcome that I want, but I authentically know that I'm making the right decisions and taking the right actions because I'm always tying it to who I am.
You know, people think that I'm in my home office right now, but they don't realize that I'm in a studio and we have a studio audience of hundreds of people, and they are literally off their seat right now. That was a tour de force, my friend. I feel very privileged that you shared that story, and I just took so many notes. And what I jotted down was that confidence equals identity, equals core values. I mean, you again added more nuance, authentic confidence, inconsistent confidence. I also love the fact that you spoke this question. So, what are you after? It's not what's the end game. What's the end game? There's no end game. There's no like, because the goalposts, to use a sports analogy, will continue to shift. It's what are you after? What's that North Star? What's the search? What's the longing? What's the fire that burns inside? And I think if you connect the dots in the story, when you know who you are, when you know why you exist, when you know what you are after, confidence almost seems like a natural byproduct, does it not?
Absolutely. And I love the way you synthesize this. Confidence equals identity. So I'm going to steal that from you. Okay. Just I'm getting your public permission right now. But here's how, thank you. Here's how, now let's pass the baton out to all of our viewers and listeners and everything else, because I want to get tactical here. Because while that may be an inspiring story and it's a transformational journey, I want to now give everyone a process and a system that will literally take you a matter of minutes to implement in your life. And on the other end is consistent and authentic confidence. So here is a formula for you. Confidence equals values times action. I'll repeat that. Confidence equals values times action. The multiplication is how consistently you do it. In other words, show me a person that takes consistent action on their values. I will show you a confident person. Period. Point blank. So nobody pushes back on that. But then here's the secret elixir and the magic sauce is, all right, Paul, so I want confidence and I'm willing to take the action, but I don't know my core values. Cool. Here's a couple of things that you can do to find your core value. And this is short of having a coach or a workshop, which again, I always recommend that, but not everybody has access to it. So let me just give something that's at your fingertips right now. One, let's do the Google thing. Google common list of personal core values. I promise you there are infinite lists, 50 words, 100 words. Choose one. Just choose the one that jumps off the screen, jumps off the page. Choose one that defines you to your core. To use your word, Joseph, that identity piece. And the other way of doing it, and this one's kind of cool, ask 5 or 10 people that are the closest to you, the 5 or 10 people that know you the best, to describe you in a word. So involve other people, have some fun with it. And if you see any consistent words or themes or trends, they're probably onto something. So here's the process. It is a journaling process. So I'm assuming at this point you have your core value. So you lock in on one word. Here is the journal. It'll take you 2 minutes to do. And I'm advising that you do it once a week. So it is a 2-minute time commitment per week. The journal is, I will live my value of blank by blank. The first blank is the value that you chose. The second blank is an action that you connect to that value. So I will live my blank by blank. First one is a value. Second is an action. Let me give you 2 examples. Let's say you chose the value of joy. So the journal would be something like, I will live my value of joy by cooking my favorite meal. Cool. For me, I'm throwing some bacon in the pan. Whatever you're doing, whatever brings you joy, you do you. Because joy is a core value and your favorite meal brings you joy. Okay, let's pivot. Not joy. Let's go to courage. Let's raise the stakes a little bit. Journal. I will live my value of courage by having that challenging conversation that I've been putting off. You're not having that conversation because Paul said. You're having that conversation because courage is a core value. So those are just two examples. And now here's my last piece on what to do. And it's exactly why New Year's resolutions don't work. For one, I have two thoughts. One, we lack process and system. So if I attach something like a journaling process to my New Year's resolutions, I bet you I'd have a higher success rate, but I don't. And so therefore I'm with the majority of the world and we fail at our resolutions. And like, that's kind of a thing. Okay. So we don't have a process or system. Now for this, you do. It is the journaling that I just described. That's your process and system. The second thing is the reason resolutions fail is we don't stick with it. We don't do it long enough. We think transformation is going to happen by January 5th. And then on the 6th, we give up and poof, done, sugar high. But next year we'll do it. Anyways, here's what we're lacking. Since we don't stick with it long enough, it never becomes a habit. We lack habit formation. And so if we want to get past the habit threshold, here's what the science will tell us. The majority of habit formation happens in a 3 to 4 week time period. So in other words, if we're going to journal once a week, you know where I'm going with this already, commit to 4 weeks, get past the habit threshold, because once you surpass this habit threshold, now you journal joy 4 consecutive weeks, or you journal courage 4 consecutive weeks. It's now internalized. There's muscle memory. And now it becomes a core part of your decision-making, your action taking, to use your word, Joseph. It becomes a part of your identity. So that is the values journal process. And I'm happy to share it out in some of the resources that we share out, but just wanted to say a lot of this is actually baked into my confidence quiz, which is at paulepsteinspeaks.com. So I know we can visibly see the website. If you take the quiz on the back end, you'll be able to do this values journal, and I'll hook you up with a visual that can help you along the way. So that's it, brother. That is a gift from the heart on how to create a more confident world, one person at a time.
Well, look, as you said, paulepsteinspeaks.com/CON, as in confidence. Is that right? Did I get it right?
Take out the /con. Just, I think it's just /confidence -quiz, but they'll find it. If you go to paulepsteinspeaks.com,
I've been having such a great day with domains today. That
it's all good. It's all good.
Well, you know, so before we head on over to actually the quiz and because I went and took it as well, and we'll see my results in a moment. Is very consistent now as a business coach myself, and with all the people that have been on the show. So I just want to echo the importance of habits and rituals. And the fact is, it takes actually 30 days to form a habit and to be able to sustain that habit. So not only is everything Paul's saying spot on, but I'm underscoring it as well. And the power of journaling, all very new things to me in terms of going through this period of time myself. So let's talk about the quiz. I went and where is the quiz? As I said today,
in main nav bar right there on the right side, confidence quiz.
So yeah, but I'm as I said today, everything has just been going unbelievably. Wait, I'm going to remove that. I'm going to come back to it. So I took the quiz, and what I want to do is I actually want to share. That was your website, but what I want to do is actually share my results. So you got a copy of those, didn't you?
Yes.
All right. So let me see. Better decisions, faster is. I've basically, what I realize is here it is. I have like so much stuff. Let's see. There we go. I've just got Paul Epstein all over my all over my tabs as well. Everyone should have Paul Epstein all over their tabs. So here was my confidence quiz. This is what I wanted to show. I got 81 out of 100. Well, tell me what am I seeing here? Because I'll tell you, there were a few questions that I felt very unconfident about, and I definitely, felt like I needed more. It's like, could you use more? And I was like, yes. How do I get more?
Yeah. Let me see your sub scores here. So your head, heart, hand scores. So 24, 24, 26. Okay, great. I mean, your dimmer switch is high.
So
What's
tell
the
us,
total?
what's the difference between head, heart, and hands, first of all?
Yeah, and this is all the framework. I call it the head plus heart equals hands equation. And this is the application method inside my new book, Better Decisions Faster. But confidence and better decisions faster are inextricably linked. So if you think of your head as your mindset, think of your heart as your authenticity, and then think of hands as action. So the reason I broke it out into head, heart, hands relative to the quiz is sometimes some of us, we really want to understand how strong is my mind. And so your sub score of the head will give you a little bit more of where your mindset is, the strength or the opportunities for developing your mindset. And then if we shift into heart, in your case, coincidentally, you got the same score, but that is purely coincidence. The heart is on a truth meter. How real are you being? How authentic are you being? In other words, if you're just taking actions to please other people, if you don't believe in most of the things you do, and you answer the quiz questions accurately, you're going to have a lower heart score. Versus the opposite is also true. Hey, I know who I am. I'm living on my terms. Like I genuinely know that I have good, positive intentions, and I do what I feel is right, and I have integrity and all of that. So you're going to have a higher heart score. Versus with the hands, this is, are you pulling the trigger? So your head and heart can say go. Are you actually taking action or not? Because you would think that if your head and heart are on board, you always take action, but that's just not the case. Because again, oh, I'm afraid. I don't want to do the wrong thing. Well, if I make this decision and take this action, what's she or he going to think? Oh, if this doesn't work out, am I going to get fired? Or very natural feelings. But again, the head score is the mindset. The heart score is your authenticity and your truth. And then hands are your willingness and your proof that you are taking action. So that's kind of the head, heart, hands piece. Happy to explain the equation relative to better decisions faster, but that's why I broke out the quiz the way that I did.
Well, there are a couple of things that jump out at me because, first of all, the one thing that from listening to you is you need the head and the heart to be in place for then the hands to kind of take over, to bring it to life, to move it forward, to bring it into execution mode. What happens when you feel, so first of all, my takeaway, my personal takeaway is I'm further along than maybe I thought or that I would have given myself credit for. When it comes to mindset, when it comes to this, I mean, hell, like my new book is called Forever Changed. I mean, mindset wise, I'm all over it in terms of recognizing, in terms of this idea of get unstuck, return to growth, become forever changed, love what you do, be true to yourself, stay the course. Those core values, they're oozing. They're, to use a term now, because in EOS where I'm coaching, Gino Wickman would say that, when it comes to core values of a company, employees reek. He uses the word reek of it. Like you can just smell it, just you sweating these core values. It's a very like visceral, like almost gross way, but you reek of it as well. And maybe it smells good to you. It's like, yeah, I reek of it. All right. I'm glad you can't smell that. And so those two components in place, and then we move into the third. So the first is maybe I'm further along than I thought, which is great. But what happens when the results aren't there? What happens when you start to lose faith? What happens when you're like, when I even personally look at myself, I go, I got the head, I got the heart, my scores certainly reinforce what I feel. I feel like I'm doing stuff, but is it the right stuff? And what if the results aren't there? And that's when the doubt and the head trash, and steps in to say, maybe I'm off track or on the wrong course. And so it's almost like I'm so close, and yet I just feel like anything can set me back.
Absolutely. And whether we're talking Better Decisions Faster as a book or the confidence quiz, I'll explain what this is. There's green lights embedded in both. A green light is when your head and your heart are on board. That's a green light to proceed with the action. In other words, whether to use your hands or not. So the simple way of thinking about the head, heart, hands equation is head plus heart. If they're both on, it's a green light. 10 out of 10 times, pull the trigger, take action. When there's no head and no heart, red light, no action, or stop doing it. And when one of the two, head or heart, is on board, that's a yellow light. You try to solve for the gap. So the simple of the book is I wrote it to fill our lives with more greens. I wrote it to create awareness so we stop running reds. And then I wrote it because the yellow is the messy middle. And this is a playbook for how to conquer and navigate the messy middle of yellow. So that's better decisions faster. Now the confidence quiz, which this is all linked. When you talk about, let's say for you, Joseph, so, you got to score above 80. Great. Your dimmer switch is high. Now the challenge is, how do you get that lower 80s to mid 80s, high 80s, 90s, etc. But that's part of the dimmer switch, and that's beautiful. What if you had taken the quiz and you got something in the 50s or the 40s, which, okay, like, let's deal with that reality. It's kind of the scenario you just described. Here's the prescriptive part of it. Within the head, heart, and hands, each of them has 4 values and 4 green lights. So I'll rattle them off really quick. Head, growth, positivity, grit, and curiosity. And then the heart, you've got passion, authenticity, gratitude, and happiness. And then the hands, you've got courage, service, excellence, and impact. So let's say in the quiz, your overall score was low, but you're always going to have different scores for head, heart, and hands. In other words, like maybe you got a 20 something in one and you're in the teens on another and a single digit in one. Well, I would say, okay, which one do you want to tackle first? Do you want to tackle that lowest possible score of head, heart, hands? And then here's the beauty. I would choose one of the green light values that you want to improve in. So let's say head was your lowest score. Mindset, it's just, that's a little wonky. My heart score was decent. My hand score was pretty good, but my head, woof, low score. So what I would say is, out of growth, positivity, grit, and curiosity, choose the one that you want to improve on the most. Choose the one that speaks to you, like, oh, I want to become more gritty. I want to become more curious. I want to become more growth-minded, etc. And then you would plug it into the values journal exercise that we just went through. That's the beauty of this. This dimmer switch just gives you a data point of where you're at today. Awesome. Now let's get to work. Let's hit the gym. Maybe it's the mind gym. Maybe it's the heart gym. Maybe it's the hands gym, but let's get in the gym. And the values journal is a way that within 30 days, you could take a weakness into a strength. You could take a D to a B, you take a C to an A minus. You could take an A minus to an A plus, all through the values journal. And that's the beauty of how the quiz is constructed.
Boom.
Let's go.
Let's go. Well, I'll tell you that I love this. I'm deconstructing this. I'm sinking my teeth into it like a pit bull. And what I see in this as well, and I'm thinking, and the cogs are whirring, is that within each one of these head, heart, and hands, within these 4 values associated, because they're 12 in total, maybe some of them are yellow or some of them are red. Well, maybe a red is a red light, but it's the messy middle of the yellow that I absolutely love. So I'm going to go back and personally do a little bit of soul searching and introspection, maybe not in the head and the heart, but in the hands, in terms of the ability, because just doing stuff, just executing, just doing stuff doesn't, the insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And maybe that's where let's call it a confidence leak is occurring. It's like there's a leak in the pool. So you got to plug the gap. You got to plug that leak. So I'm all over this. I'm sinking my teeth into it as well. The book is, I cannot wait to really, I'm finding out about it, but I got to read it. The book is called Buy a New Book. I told you, I don't know what the hell happened to me today. Whatever. I need a journal. Buy a new book, Better Decision Faster. No, buy better decisions faster. I want to talk about just briefly 3 things in the time we have left. We've got about 6 minutes and we're going to rattle through them really quickly. So the first is this idea of, Napoleon Hill procrastination model basically says we all want to make the right decision quickly. But what people don't realize is that making the wrong decision quickly is actually better than making the right decision slowly, which is better than not making a decision at all. Do you concur with that continuum?
100%. The worst decision is indecision. And in the world, we suffer, myself included, at our worst moments, we suffer from paralysis. And paralysis leads to indecision and inaction. And really, the way I think about this is if you pursue the action, especially in this case, head and heart are on board, it's a green light. You believe it's the right action to take. Now you move forward. What I cannot promise somebody is a positive outcome. None of us have a crystal ball. But what if I could promise you either the outcome you want or learning, the outcome you want or growth, the outcome you want or growth and evolution, adaptability, agility? Like, I don't succeed or fail. I succeed or I learn. I succeed or I grow. I succeed or I evolve. If that became the binary game that you're playing, then failure is wiped out of your vocabulary. And that's the beauty of the head, heart, hands equation. Within seconds, you process it through. Is my head on board? Is my heart on board? Okay, based on that, is it a green, yellow, or red? And now you know you have a framework. You have a go-to process and system to know when you should take action. And that's the beauty of the equation.
It's a different binary. So instead of the binary of win or lose or confident or not confident, it's one of recognizing that the binary in this case is learn, is grow, is adapt, is evolve, etc. You know that I always come up with a quote, and I think this almost is a great way to summarize everything. This is previous guest on the show, Henry David Thoreau, said, "Public opinion is a weak tyrant compared with our own private opinion." And for me, this comes down to this concept. Again, we've discussed it so much today. Know thyself. You know, you've got to, if you don't have that identity, if you don't understand your core values, who you are, what your why is, why you exist, you know, to quote Sue Ann, what you are after, how are you ever going to, you are conning yourself ultimately, which is why you probably lack the self-confidence.
Identity, authenticity, values, all the things we've talked about today, out of the head, heart, hands, guess which one it is? It's heart. 100%. Your heart is who you are. The question is, are you being true to your heart? And this world is lacking major heart. It's obvious. I'm not a news guy. You put on the news, it is nothing but stories of a lack of heart. And so where I try to invite people to apply this head, heart, hands equation, it can change your life, because I don't need to convince people to think more or do more. Head and hands, they're always go, 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 do, do, do. But when are you calling a timeout to ask yourself, is this truly my heart? Is this my truth? Is this my, in your case of the quote, the private opinion of your heart? I believe that if we lead from our heart, because it's become a forgotten art, that's a key to a better tomorrow.
I love that private opinion of your heart. And at a mindset retreat that I went to, I was being told to think with my heart, and I struggled with that. I was like, does that mean be emotional? Does that mean let my emotions rule my logic, etc.? But it's a little bit deeper than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And here's the beauty. It's head plus heart equals hands. I didn't say head or heart. I didn't say head minus heart. I didn't say heart minus head.
Right.
They both matter. And that's the beauty. If you are a very logical, head-driven person, it forces you to tap into the heart and your emotion. Otherwise, there's no green lights. If you're like me and you're all heart and you're all emotion, it's going to force Paul to use the head and get the data and get the logic and get the analytics and it's going to force me, because that's not my natural default setting. So it's head and heart. That's the only way that we can live a green light life.
I think it's actually head and heart and hands and Win Monday. I wanted to make sure you have it on your shirt, you have it behind you. Tell us about Win Monday.
This is, the whole world says, thank God it's Friday. I say, thank God it's Monday, because it's where all momentum starts. It's where all growth journeys start. And in a life where we're going to work over 100,000 hours, I want to find purpose in it. I want that 100,000 to energize not only me, but the people that I'm around. And so I want to surround myself with winners that are committed to get 1% better every day, personally and professionally. And every one of those journeys starts on Monday.
It's so consistent, even in the book now in Forever Changed. I start off with that quote that says, no, I should have spent more time in the office, said no one ever. And I say, I disagree with that statement. And I give more nuance, but I said, by the way, if you're working at home, then especially, because quite literally, it means you want to spend more time at home. But we should absolutely love what we do in every capacity. We're almost out of time, but I just want to show people this little clip that really kind of gets to the heart of Win Monday.
Welcome to the Win Monday community, where you'll soon be introduced to countless like-minded and like-hearted people that I consider some of the best and most confident decision makers and action takers I know. They range from CEOs, Olympians, Shark Tank entrepreneurs, to Guinness World Record holders, best-selling authors, and Ivy League professors, to Navy SEALs, nonprofit leaders, and Netflix stars, to everyday Joes and Janes. You'll soon meet them all, as this is a community by the people and for the people. Each of us obsessed to win one day, one decision, one action at a time. Your journey starts Monday.
I cannot wait until Monday. I tell you, Paul, with all the weird things that happened and went wrong today, I couldn't have wanted to spend it with someone more like yourself, or someone that I felt the safety, the forgiveness, the kindness. I think also today, with all the profundity of this conversation, also showed the fact that there was heart. There was an abundance of heart, which is when things mess up, and they will, do you have the kindness? Do you have the support? Do you have the community, like this Win Monday community, to push you to keep on going, and to realize tomorrow will always be better than yesterday was? So this is Paul Epstein. It doesn't even matter which one the lie was, because quite frankly, I believe all three. But you can go to 2T1L_Paul Epstein and vote and join the fun. And you'll be able to find out more about Paul by going to that website, and maybe even getting taking that test, that quiz, and moving along the confidence continuum. Please follow him on Instagram, connect with him on LinkedIn, buy the book Better, as opposed to buy new book, Better Decisions Faster. As far as the community is concerned, you want to go to paulepsteinspeaks.com/win-Monday. Take the close the confidence gap, take the quiz, paulepsteinspeaks.com. There is no /.con. I told you, if it could have happened today, it would have. But at the end of the day, thank God that Chuck Norris isn't after me.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And if we're not canceled, we'll be back next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing, with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.